his name?
If anything,
William
next
George
week's
Davis.
PNS we can do on Brian Laundrie.
Yeah. William George Davis?
Yeah.
Okay. And welcome to Psychos and Sociopaths. Today we're going to go over William George Davis, who in September 29th, 2001, was an East Texas nurse, and he killed people with injecting air into their arteries to slip out before any of the night staff noticed. And he basically, all these people had in common was they just had heart surgery, and literally the only reason why that he killed these people is because he wanted them to die. That's the reason why he became a serial killer, is because he watched them die. And
yeah, because injecting air into somebody's, vascular system, it's untraceable until you perform an autopsy, and even then, a pulmonologist has to do it.
that was the thing with this case, was it a pulmonologist actually had to go in and do a MRI on these people's head, and that's where they found the air pocket. And he said, and the pulmonologist that did it said that in his 30 years, he's never seen anybody do this. It was weird.
and the thing of it is that, once you introduce air into the arterial system, it causes brain injury, and then eventually that injury will lead to death, because, while your blood vessels do carry an amount of oxygen on them, when you introduce straight air, like a pocket of air.
Yeah.
Dude, because the brain is not designed to operate within an pure oxygenated area.
Yeah, exactly. And we're taught in first aid and medical procedures and everything always, and this is everybody that's actually taken a lot of first aid and everything like that, especially the advanced first aid. Like when you're doing an IV and everything like that, you always flick the line to make sure there's no air in it. And you always wondered if you see a doctor like flick the needle and what's the tube thing called?
The syringe? Yeah.
Is it the whole thing called a syringe?
You talking about the IV tube?
No, like when they're giving you a shot.
Yeah, when they stick
flick
the needle
first.
Yeah, they flick it. That's to unseat the air that collects on the sides of the syringe and inside the needle itself. So I mean, that's just not something that they do in the movies. They flick that needle, or the side of the syringe, to get all that air to unseat itself from the sides of the syringe. It'll collect up, and then they push that plunger in, and they don't stop until. That's why you see them always go past the amount that they're supposed to give you, and because they count on a certain amount of drug or antibiotic or whatever it is that they're injecting into you. They always figure in a certain amount of quote unquote waste. And that's just so that way they know that they're, the only thing that they're putting into your body and introducing into your system is nothing but pure injectable.
Yeah.
And because they know that air can cause, problems.
Damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's.
I mean, you're allowed a small amount, but.
Yeah, but the amount that he was putting into these.
He was basically putting a whole syringe in.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, the guy knows what he was looking at, what he's doing. It says that, what is it? Murder through air injections was, had been conceived. Lord Peter Wimsey's 1928 murder mystery novel, Unnatural Death, and appeared later in a 1985 TV series called Shadow Chasers, where a nurse used the method to kill 7 patients. So, this guy. He's got his nurse training. He's got a medical background, but you kind of wonder if he knew about these other things. And
what's really sad about
it a lot, like in murder mystery type movies. Yeah. Especially when it comes to like Nightingale type.
Yeah. Well, what's really sad about this whole thing is he's a nurse. He's the person that's supposed to be taking care of you. And he just wanted to see people die. It was like the same. The first episode that we did on was Vicky Jackson.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be taking care of these people, and she ended up just getting fed up with people and started killing them. This is what's really sad is both of those cases were in Texas, and they were both nurses. So, did they bring him more? He just convicted of 85 murders? What is this? Is this the same guy?
Yeah, no, because he was...
Oh, this is the German guy.
Yeah, but this guy, the nurse that we're talking about now, William Davis, I mean, it was four hospital patients between 2017 and 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just simply nothing more than just thrill kills. John Lafferty, Ronald Clark, Christopher Greenway, and Joseph Kalina, they all suffered from neurological problems following their respective surgeries, and it was all heart surgeries. And because Tyler, Texas, where these murders occurred, they have got a really, really, really good cardiac ward in their hospital. And, so, I mean, it's actually one of the places a lot of insurance companies will send their policyholders to. I mean, because it's in network for a lot of the major insurance companies here in Texas, and so they'll send them there.
Was that when you worked at Blue Shield?
Yeah, when I worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, we sent a lot of people there. I can't remember the name of the hospital network off the top of my head. It's been a couple of years since I've worked there, but rightly so. I mean, he's looking at the death penalty right now. I mean, they haven't convicted him of it, but the jury. I mean, now that they're in the sentencing phase, they've already convicted him. He's guilty. Bam. So you're not going anywhere near the light of day for a couple of for a while, if at all, ever again. Unless they send him to Huntsville. If they send him to Huntsville,
they already sent him to Huntsville.
All right, so yeah, he'll get yard time and stuff like that. But, this dude, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to try to crack open, what may or may not be going on inside of his head.
From what I understand when looking at most of the articles that I looked at, it's more or less it was a thrill. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 hospitals in that town.
Yeah, so I mean, so I'm just sitting there kind of going, man, this is, and I don't really know. I mean, I'm sure that there's an article out there somewhere that's got the name of the hospital where he worked at, but I think the hospital... They
might have just kept it out.
Yeah, they're trying to keep it out because, they don't want people shying away from or people going there looking for, those people that go to murder scenes and stuff like that, because that's somehow it's intriguing to them. But
I mean, most of the people that listen to this show.
Yeah, right. But yeah, Dr. William Yarborough, he was a Dallas area pulmonologist, and he's a professor of internal medicine. He explained to the jury how injecting the air into the arterial system causes brain injury and death. He was able, to determine it by looking at the brain scans. Like you said, it was MRIs. It may have been MRIs or CT scans. I'm not sure which, but either way, he was doing these scans on cadavers. But he said he'd never seen it before, ever in his decades of medicine. So, you knew that this had to be something very unique, and it's something that was, unless you were doing these scans, was going to be something that was untraceable.
God, that's a big word for a hospital. It was called the Christus Trinity Mother Francis Lewis.
Oh, yeah, Christus. Christus Health.
And Preaches Owen Heart Hospital.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
God, that's a long name for a hospital.
Well, because you're going to have your main hospital networks. Like here, we've got United Regional, right? And then you're going to have
Kemp or Kel West.
Yeah, well, Kel West is a separate entity.
Yeah,
But you're
But
going to have
like,
your United Regional, and then you're going to have your United Regional like outpatient. You're going to have your United Regional like medicine park.
yeah, because
and
even
whatever.
even Kel West has like one here and two
Yeah,
over
exactly.
over by Kel.
Yeah, I mean they've got their urgent care walk-in, and then you go further down
still, that's a
Kel,
long
and it's
name.
their main. But even then, at the main Kel West campus, you've got your emergency room, you've got your outpatient hospital, and then you've got your inpatient, and you've got your oncology over there. But
Yeah, my dad had to have when he had his neck surgery. They went to Kel West and
Yeah.
they had an inpatient over there.
But yeah, and prosecutor Jacob Putman said that the hospital hadn't changed any of its procedures and hadn't had any similar incidences since Davis left. So, I mean, he enjoyed going into the rooms and injecting them there. And if you watch the video of Joseph Kalina, he sat at the end of the hall and watched those monitors, and he waited because that's the way he liked it.
Yeah.
So, it's like, I mean, they've got this guy on freaking video doing this. And then if you see the like the pictures of him sitting in the courtroom.
Oh yeah. I did.
mean,
it's just
he was the sole person identified to be around all four victims at the time during their time at the hospital.
He looked. And what's really surprising is he pleaded not guilty, and you could just see in his face that he did it.
Yeah, I mean, the guy had absolutely no remorse. I mean,
And he was like, "Oh, they're never gonna find out." Type deal.
I mean, he thought, okay, look, if it's untraceable, unless, but whenever the problem that you and I have started to see this pattern with serial murders out of all the episodes that we've done in this series is that when you get caught, it's because you go back to the same scene more than once.
That, and it was only like a few of them.
Yeah.
Ed Kemper was one of them that he basically, one, he showed remorse. Two, he confessed to everything.
Yeah.
And it was to the point to where he was relieved that he was caught, because he was like, they finally found the monster, and I'm glad they found me.
Yeah. And let's see here. They were talking about his victim, Mr. Greenway, Christopher Greenway, 47 years old, Army veteran, right?
Yeah.
Declared brain dead and died on August 6th. When the assigned nurse returned, he heard the code sounding for Greenway's room and rushed in to find his patient suffering from an unexplained neurological incident. And so a lot of these guys, they were just like, I mean, all four of his victims were experiencing stroke-like symptoms. That's really, particular.
Yeah. What's really sad is the nurse assigned to Greenway was asked Davis to keep an eye on his patient while he went to lunch.
Yeah,
It was just an hour.
Yeah. So I mean, these are pretty basic. I mean, I say basic. These are pretty common procedures.
It was
these
30
people
minutes
were,
later.
Yeah, I mean, these people were. I mean, really, really common surgeries now. I mean, Mr. Greenway was. He had gotten a coronary artery bypass graft, right? So I mean, he should have been in and out. I mean, I say in and out, but I mean, he could have been in and out, like, say, give him like a week and a half. But I mean, he had his surgery, and then 2 days later, bam, dead. Dead.
Yeah, even the neck surgery was only like 3 days.
Yeah. So and so it just. A 61-year-old man experienced a profound and unexplainable incident resembling stroke-like symptoms. Less than a month later, another patient, a 58-year-old man rather, suffered similar symptoms. And then there was Mr. Greenway. Christus Trinity Mother Frances Hospital in Tyler, Texas. So, and then on the morning of January 25th in 2018, Davis was seen on security video entering Joseph Kalina's room. Leaving a minute later, according to the affidavit, within 3 minutes of Davis's departure, Kalina's heart rate plummeted while his blood pressure spiked, leaving him with permanent brain damage that had robbed him of the ability to speak or feed himself. He died last year. So he suffered, and then Davis was fired from Chris's mother, Frances, on February of that year and was arrested in April. after police learned that Davis was the only employee consistently around each of the 4 patients who experienced stroke-like symptoms. So, it was just going to be a matter of time before they figured it out. And, they said that they didn't change any of their procedures after he left. And I honestly, I don't know that they need to, other than maybe add another check and balance in there. Maybe have another nurse, like a second nurse or a PA or somebody like that, maybe like an LVN or an RN.
Well, the thing.
Double check.
Well, okay. The reason why usually they used to have like 2 nurses go in, and check on one patient. The reason why they can't do that anymore is because a lot of people don't want to be nurses anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to do with the pandemic or anything like that. And any other thing, it's a constant thing. It's like any kind of civil service or like police departments are always undermanned. The correctional officers are always undermanned. Fire departments are always undermanned. EMSs are always undermanned. Hospitals are always
and especially these days, where everybody's like, oh, you got all these employers talking about, well, we're going to mandate that you get this vaccine, even though our governor has said, hey, look, vaccine mandates within the state of Texas are, they're banned. You cannot do that. AMR, our ambulance system here in town, they were just told, hey, you either get the jab or you got to leave, and you got people that are, they're underpaid. They're making like $14, $15 an hour to work a 12-hour shift 6 days a week. And they're on a rotating schedule. So they never have the 2 same days consistently, one from 1 week to the next. But, or sometimes they'll be stuck on a 24-hour shift, where they go from like 8 to 8 or something like that. And
that's another reason why there's not a lot of nurses.
Yeah, and a lot of nurses are leaving the profession. They're leaving the field because they don't want to put that vaccine in their body.
That's in all reality, that's just now. That's the excuse now. Used to is just the hours. Nurses get paid like a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, depending on the area that you work in.
A year, it's like $100,000 a year.
Yeah, but then you go down to Dallas-Fort Worth.
And you're making more.
Yeah, you're making more. So, and granted, the cost of living is offset, but to kind of continue with that theme, when we look at the shortage of nurses, and it may just be that hospital doesn't want to pay, or because, whether or not we like it, hospitals are just like anything else in this country. It is a business, and you've got some hospital director that's sitting in an office completely removed from the emotional side and the stress side of the medical field. They're sitting in an office usually on the top floor of the hospital or somewhere in the middle of the building or something like that, usually on a corner. And they're making these decisions because they're looking at a budget.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate because if there's any professions in this country, and while I'm at it, in the world that need to be compensated the most, it's going to be nurses, teachers, law enforcement, first responders. Pure, plain and simple. Because those people, they go out and they deal with either the best of society or the worst of society, and they're put under an incredible amount of stress.
And it's mostly the worst of society.
It usually is, and you get these nurses that they have people that come in, have absolutely zero intentions of paying their medical bills. They look down on the nursing profession because it's like, well, you're not a doctor, you're just somebody who collects a paycheck. And
there's a lot of the nurses that are more
there's
more
a lot
intelligent
of nurses
than the doctors
exactly
themselves.
Because these nurses,
half the time the doctor just comes in, asks a couple of questions, and they say, oh, it's this, and they have to take care of all that stuff.
Yeah.
So most of the time they have more because a doctor only has an extra 4 years on a nurse.
Right.
That's it.
And
a lot of the times the nurse is actually, one thing that actually does upset me is if you're a combat medic.
Yeah.
Either a combat medic or a what's the name we call it? Corpsman.
Yeah.
Honestly, depending on where you're at and what you do, even some spec ops, the spec ops medics.
Yeah, Navy corpsmen, they are not allowed. They're not covered by the Good Samaritan law. They're not.
No.
Army medics, they are.
Yeah, which is stupid ridiculous.
Right, because they get the same kind of training. Now, you'll see that to become more and more prevalent. That's more of a thing in Virginia.
Really?
Yeah, where the Atlantic Fleet is based.
Yeah.
NCIS even did an episode on that where a Navy corpsman stopped to help a car wreck victim. The car wreck victim ultimately ended up dying, and then here they come and they arrest the corpsman because the family's trying to sue them for wrongful death. And so they're like, look, and ultimately the law played out to where it was like, hey, you have to do that, but.
Or pararescue.
Yeah, and we'll see pararescue.
They're basically doctors.
Yeah, they are. Now you get your special operations health providers. I'm sorry, slip of the tongue there. You shoot a doc, you're just screwed. But anyways, so you get these special operations like these SF doctors, these Delta Force guys, Navy SEAls. Navy SEAls they get the corpsman treatment, but.
No, they actually have. Okay, the way.
Because I know that, so with the
Navy SEAL training is this: either you're going in to be a door kicker, medic. Because Marcus Luttrell went to the medical school, and he explained it. He's like, some of them do communication, some of them do medic after they do their initial training, and they go into a specialty thing. They go communications, medic, and
right, just like special forces.
Yeah.
To get your Green Beret, if you decide to go and become a special forces medic, part of your Q course is I don't know if they've changed the requirement, but at least when I was in, it was you had to go to and do a year-long internship at a level 1 emergency room, somewhere around the country, either L.A., I think it was San Antonio or Houston, then there was Chicago and New York City. So, and that was because you were going to be exposed to the highest concentration of gunshot victims.
Yeah.
And extreme trauma victims, like car wrecks, what have you, construction accidents. I mean, something that because that is the closest simulation that you're going to get in the civilian sector to battlefield trauma.
I don't know if
and they have to do a year of that.
I don't know if the SEALs do that because I don't know. Marcus Luttrell's the only one I could probably ask.
Well, and see with the Navy SEALs, I think because of their turnover rate now. Because you got so many guys going into the SEALs. I mean, you can pass buds, that's fine. But if you don't get assigned to a team and then go through your UDT stuff, I mean, you can have the Trident, that's fine. But if you're not actually assigned to a SEAL team, you're just a guy that passed buds. Yeah. So, and that's not me saying that. That's actual SEALs that have been saying that, to include Chris Kyle, to include Marcus Luttrell.
Well, it's one of those things it's like...
to include Marcus Luttrell's brother.
Yeah. Special forces and Delta, and anything that's Tier 1, you basically have to be...
you have to be rated as a PA, I think.
You have to go in front of a board.
Yeah.
Before you get your stuff.
Yes, I mean...
Because they have to... There's some people that they pass all the stuff, but once they get to the board, they go, I don't like your face, and they just can't. Fucking Heifer told me that. He's like, yeah, sometimes they just don't like your face, and they kick you to the side, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, you just.
And sometimes they like your face. And you're passing everything like that, and everybody in the whole training exercise, because there was a guy, they were trying to get kicked out of Special Forces during Hafer's training and everything like that, and the head guys was like, no, he's all right. He's passing on his stuff. And he was just a total douchebag. They finally got rid of him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, because you got those guys that have got the book smarts and they know how to work the system to get through.
No, he's just an asshole.
Yeah, well, okay, that's too. But, you know, with the, I mean, because it's like going to Ranger school. Okay, going to Ranger school, if you're a complete bag of dicks, I mean, you could.
You're talking about getting your tab.
Yeah, I mean, you could know your shit. But if you're not a team player, or you're one of these me first guys instead of being a team, or a member of that squad, you can actually get peered out.
Yeah,
and so
that's what it's called, peered out.
Yeah. So
okay,
when you get like a lot of guys that are E4, and they're waiting on slots to go to Ranger school, and sometimes you'll get these NCOs that are like, oh, they're all about the promotion points, they're all about their 201 files. And they're like, oh, I apply for every school that I can find, including Ranger school. And it's unfortunate that, even back when I was in, you had that toxic leadership.
We've always, both of us have
What's
the
the word
taste
I'm
of
looking for?
toxic leadership.
Environment. Or
Yeah.
I know environment's not the word I was looking for, but You had a lot of these guys that were just like, hey, how can I make my DOD photo look when I go up for 7, for E7, and it's like, okay, how much fruit salad can I get? And I mean, we're talking about fruit salad. We're talking about the number of ribbons that you can put on your dress uniform.
Yeah.
How many tabs can I get put on my duty uniform? How can I make my dress uniform look good? How can I look like a steely-eyed killer without actually having to go get my CIB? And it sucks because you get these people that they get these school slots versus these E4s that are trying to do that because they're trying to become better leaders. They're trying to become better soldiers. They're trying to be better infantrymen.
Yeah, that was the problem that I had that I didn't know, because it took my tech sergeant that was above me up at the kitchen that I was working at. He's like, hey, what do you do on your days off? He needed some help. And I was like, I don't know. What do you need? Because I'm not at such and such time. I got to go and feed the homeless. He's like, wait a minute, what? And he found out about it, and he brought me aside. And this is the show of a good leader. Is he brought me aside, and he's like, what do you mean you got to go feed the homeless? You take the food that's from the... I was like, no. I go up to the mission and...
you volunteer your time.
Yeah, I volunteer my time for like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I'll do some... It was just one of the things... I didn't have anything else better to do.
You did it because you were being selfless. And there is a difference between selfless and selfish.
No, I was bored. But I was helping people. I liked it.
And there's a saying in the Army, especially around the infantrymen, when in relation to Rangers, there's a difference between a tab wearer and a tab bearer. A tab wearer, they're doing it just for the prestige. They're walking around like, I'm fucking Ranger qualified. Well, you know what? That's great. I bet your dick still gets shriveled when you jump in a cold ass fucking pool, And then you got your tab bearers.
Yeah.
These guys live by the Ranger ethos. They live, breathe, eat shit the fucking Ranger creed. Though I will be the lone survivor, I will carry on until my Ranger mission is completed kind of guys. And
yeah, but
I mean, these guys, when they wake up, they're like recognizing the chosen the dangers of my chosen profession. I mean, they just rattle that shit off. I mean, they're sitting there, brushing their teeth, reciting the Ranger creed in their head. And then when they go to work, they're like, all right, it's my job as a leader to make sure that the people that I'm tasked with leading, note I did not say put in charge of, or the people that are placed under him. These are the people that they are tasked with leading.
Yeah. Well, back to my story. What ended up happening was he brought me aside. He started asking questions and everything, and he was like, "So, do you do this on your? Are you trying to get like points to, get rank or something like that?" I was like, no, can you do that? It was one of those things that I was on obvious. He was like, hey, can you do me a favor? He asked me for a favor. I was like, yeah, sure. One, I need you to come over to my place and help me out. It's like, yeah, sure, no problem. You're a great guy. And he was like, hey, what's the mission place that you were at? And I told him it was like, there was actually, it was, fuck, I can't remember. But we usually, for like Thanksgiving, the first Thanksgiving I was there, I ended up delivering some stuff, and I ended up going back afterwards. But I got the thing, and he asked me to give the leader a call, and I did, and I handed him the phone and everything. It's like, okay, you're good.
Yeah.
And behind my back, he set up a packet for Senior Airman Below Zone. And he's like, like a week later, he called me up and he's like, hey, you got this interview, and I need you to be pressed everything. I was like, oh, okay. Am I wearing my greens or dress blues? He's like, dress blues, get everything squared away, and come by the place before you, an hour before you got to go to this meeting. I was like, okay. I go to the thing, and he made sure it was squared away. He looked me over and everything. We got everything squared away, and I still, at this moment, didn't know what was happening. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is it? Am I getting... What's happening? Am I getting in trouble or something like that? And he's like, no, you're going in for Senior Below Zone. After this, you got to take the test. I was like, oh, okay. Should I study for it? He's like, well, it's just stuff that you should know.
Right.
But just go over your test stuff, the stuff for your journeyman.
Right.
Did all that, made Senior Below the Zone and everything like that, and... He was literally the only. There was a few of the sergeants and people in my squadron that actually seen me work and everything and thought I was a wonderful person. I only had like 3 sergeants that actually gave a shit about me.
Yeah, and and it's unfortunate that toxic leadership, environment exists, but. We got wildly off track, but it was a fluid off track. It wasn't like
actually
a train wreck.
We can call it this because
in addition to the 4 people that Davis killed, he had other victims that actually survived, but they have such a debilitating injury from what he did. There's a gentleman by the name of Jesus Serrano. He woke from his October 2017 heart surgery, feeling well enough to video chat with his daughter. He was alert in good condition. The doctors there considered his surgery a success. And then overnight he went into a coma. And when he saw his daughter next, he asked him who she was. He never returned to his old self. She said in a court testimony, she quote, that guy you guys see there, he's not my dad anymore. Referencing an old photo with him. He doesn't smile. He doesn't take pictures with me. He doesn't call me. He doesn't talk to me. He lost all his memory. He was one of the luckier victims.
What's really sad is that fucking person that did all this is probably gloating. That's what.
Yeah, he'll be gloating right up to the point where they stick a needle in his arm. Right up to the point where they stick a needle in his arm. Because when they start walking him down and they say, okay, look, well, actually, you know what? Not even then. It'll actually happen. It'll sink in before then, because when he is sitting in the courtroom for his sentencing phase, and that jury hopefully will come back with a death penalty verdict, it'll hit him like, I'm going to be put to death. Yeah, his defense attorneys will sit there and exhaust all of his appeals, and it'll be 2, 3, 4 years before he's finally put to death.
Actually, it's 15.
Is it 15? Okay,
yeah,
well,
it's quite a process.
But when they when they come back with that death sentence, it's just a sad thing that judges are no longer allowed to say you shall be hanged by the neck until you are dead, but it'd be like you will be put to death by means of lethal injection. At that moment, it's going to hit him he already knows. Like, they've already found me guilty. I'm screwed on this. I'm never going to be free again. But when they come back, I mean, there's a difference between life in prison and the death penalty.
Yeah.
I
there's two of them that I miss. The hangings.
And the electric chair?
No, guillotine.
Oh, the guillotine. Okay. I mean, now they did hang Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, but that's a different country.
Yeah, it was a different country. I kind of enjoyed seeing that guy dangle, though. That was...
Yeah.
But
pissed me off they took it off the air.
There was a story that, because somebody leaked it with some cell phone footage, and these parents let their kid watch it, and then he goes into his bedroom and hangs himself in his closet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like a 6-year-old kid or some shit like that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why are you, as parents, letting that happen? I mean, I'm not talking about the kid going and hanging himself. Why are you letting the kid watch an execution?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, back in the days, they used to let their kids watch it, and there was a family thing. But
okay,
yeah,
but here's the thing. You're talking about
it.
You're talking about a culture. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Toxic leadership culture.
Okay.
But you're talking about a culture of parents who stick their kids willingly in front of a TV screen or a video game console, and leave them there.
Yeah.
And it's like, because it's easier for them to parent passively, because they're more worried about upsetting the kids, because we've given kids way too much power.
Or you also got to think about this. The only reason why I did this a couple of times, I made sure that I had time off when my daughter was here, but it was I worked nights.
Yeah.
I mean, you always
had to have a plan.
Yeah. Always did.
It's like single parents in the military. You have to have a plan, or otherwise you're non-deployable. If you're non-deployable, you might as well just go ahead and do that enlistment and then get out, because your career is not going to go anywhere.
It still upsets me that a single parent has to sign over their kids to their parents or something like that.
It's not signing them over. It is assigning guardianship while you are out of the country. There is a huge difference, because guardianship has a finite time limit.
Okay.
Okay. So, it's it's a thing, but
yeah, this guy was just a total douchebag.
Yeah,
and I hate to say this right now, but it's either going to be the death penalty, and we don't have anything. The recent of this is September 23rd on all this stuff. Let me make sure. Guilty. This is 2 days ago in the New York Times.
Yeah.
And
yeah, see, and his defense attorney's like, oh, well, the hospital is using him as a scapegoat, because he argued that a wife with 2 kids, the ex-nurse, had no reason to harm patients and was instead trying to save the lives of the patients who died. And he's like, none of these things add up. Are you trying to kill people, or are you trying to save people? Because here we're doing both. And it's like, seriously? Apparently the jurors did not buy that at all. They were like, yeah, we're going to call bullshit on this. Because it only took them about an hour to come back with a guilty verdict.
Yeah. Usually in cases like this, it takes like a week or a week and a half.
Yeah, I mean, this was probably about as airtight. Oh, you look like something just clicked.
No, not on this. On something else. Well, we'll talk about it after the show.
But yeah, either way, this guy's gone. He's going to go away. It's just going to be, for how long does he go away before he leaves this planet, and I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. The sentencing phase.
Yeah, this is 2 days ago. So
the sentencing phase should take. I mean, I would think that they would start that no more than a month from now, just to kind of depending on what the dockets look like, but. If the district attorney is doing what he needs to be doing, he's going to get this he's going to try to get this bumped up to as high on the priority list as possible, especially with as high of a profile as it is for that community.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's going to take very long for them to get that sentencing phase underway, because at that point, then the district attorney, the prosecutor, and the defense, they're going to make the arguments for and against the death penalty. If the defense attorney's trying to do his job, he's going to move past the fact that his client is now guilty. He's just going to try to get him at least life without the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
I would probably look for this douche nozzle, this what was the Philip Hayes, to try to argue, hey, look, let's get him, life with the possibility of parole, like saying 35 years, but no,
Well,
this guy doesn't need to see the light of day again. Yeah, it's
No.
unfortunate that he's got a wife and kid that he's leaving on the outside, or 2 kids that he's leaving on the outside, and the press needs to leave that family alone, because they're going to have a hard, I mean, especially those kids. Out of all of the situation, yes, I feel for the victims or family of the victims, but those 2 kids have to go through life for the rest of their life knowing
their dad's a
that
shit
their
pump.
dad killed people
Yeah.
for sport. And it's like,
No, it wasn't for sport.
well, okay, I say sport,
Enjoyment.
so it thrill,
Yeah.
and it was just to do it. And now these kids are going to have to go through life constantly being weighed and measured by the standard that their dad put out there for them.
Yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the episode on our thoughts and stuff on William George Davis. I'm David Dickerman,
I'm Johnny Skelton.
and thank you for watching.